Okay, so we are live. And today I'm going to talk about the lattice. And you said, well, why a lattice? Well, as you can see, it could be a good basis of, let's say, an office building or apartments or some kind of building you need. It could be a cool figure on its own. So I was playing around with this after watching a tutorial from about 2 years ago from Zbrush. And they talked about that. Of course, the main focus on that particular one happened to be a monster truck wheel, which that's for the future. But I played around with it in both ZBrush and Cinema 4D. And Cinema 4D has very capable modeling features at this point. And of course, they're tied to ZBrush, so they can now share from each other, which I think is good for artists, whichever tool they prefer. So here is a lattice I made. What I did is I put it over a cube so that I can make like glass and then like the cube, which is steel. Show you what it looks like. And didn't quite get the right background for it, but let's move this over let's see if I have this in full. I think I do. I think this may be over a little bit to the right here. There we go. So you can see it. And you can see kind of the glass effect, and then this is supposed to be a red painted steel. But let me show you how I made this. So let's do a new project, and hopefully my system won't complain too loudly. For a system that has the capability it does, it gets a little fussy sometimes. Okay, so we have our basic square, and we can make, I think, did I make the X side 400? You can make either X or Z, doesn't matter. I'm going to make this twice as big. Or, better still, make it taller. What? Let's make this Y 400. So this is 400. And then we'll go 4, 8, and 4. 4, 8, and 4. Okay. So we now want it to do anything with it. Of course, you have to make it editable. And what is helpful is to display the lines, so we see what we got here. We got a grid, well, actually a whole grid of cube. And what we want to do is make our little lattice type of structure. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into face mode. We're going to select all, because we want to do all of them. And then we're going to do M, and then for inset, it is W. And we're going to inset. Whoop, this is what's important. You want to turn off preserve groups. So now MW, and you can see we got our inset. Notice these are selected. Now, you have two choices here. You can make it a pure lattice by deleting these, and then that'll be a lattice. Or let's say you want windows. You want to make these the windows, let's say. And you don't want to do what I did in that previous example, is put a block inside of it, because it uses more space, etc. You need two objects. So you want to turn these into windows. And so you can either do MT and extrude these in, MT, and we should get an extrude in. And you can see very nicely extruded in. And what you may want to do at this point is store the selection, and you can call it Windows. Now, what I found is it doesn't, at least some of the renders don't necessarily like it if you put one material over another. Now, I thought I got that to work in some cases, but what you can also do is you can do, I think it's U, invert, and you can store this as building, I guess, or lattice, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't really matter as long as you're keeping track of it. And now we've got this thing here. Very simple. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go into Octane. I have the dialog. So I'm going to look at materials. And we're going to do, actually, the easiest thing is you can make your own, or if you have something like Grayscale Gorilla, you can just use their library and go to materials. And let's say you pick your renderer. If you're using Redshift, you can do it that way too, and then use a Redshift one. So now let's do steel. And maybe we want dark steel for this building. So we're going to put it on, we can stick it right on here. And what that's going to do is if you go into the steel, you can see it's put on the lattice. And then you're going to want glass. Now you can choose whatever kind. Maybe you want frosted glass in this case. So you can come here and you can select the windows. You can put your frosted glass right on there. And your frosted glass will have the windows. So now you have essentially a building. And I'm just going to render it out so you can see. And hopefully it'll come in. You can see you have your dark. Now, that's how you would do. This is how you can very quickly make a office building-like structure in Cinema 4D using this lattice effect. One other thing I want to point out with Cinema is the symmetry has gotten very strong. You can do it on any axis. So you can show the planes, and so therefore at this point, you don't necessarily need to do what I did in making the car in terms of making half a model and then doing, just working on half and then having to put it under a symmetry. You can actually use the symmetry and just do it that way, which is generally how you would do it in ZBrush as well. Now, there is, let's see if you do also have radical symmetry and the axis slice count. So you can slice it up and then just work on 1/6 of it, let's say, and that'll translate to the whole thing. So very simple. And let me then now show you ZBrush. Notice I made this here. Very simple to do, a little different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me just save this as lattice new or something. So I think I have a lattice. I'm saving it as a tool, because that's very convenient to get back that way. So now I'm going to do here, document, new document. No, I don't. And what we're going to do is we want our, actually, what we're going to do, let's just put a cube 3D. This is your basic cube. What? And what? Let's go back here. And we're going to hit edit. Very important, or it's going to get confused. So we have our basic cube. It is a certain size. And let's see. We're going to click Make Polymesh 3D, which now lets us make it set up a cube this way. We can do so. Let's say we want 4 here, and then 8 here. 8 here, and 4 here. And we can do our cube this way. So now we have, again, a cube, just like we had before. And what we're going to do, first of all, now we already have the Z model brush. Let me just show you something. In the Lightbox, this is, okay, click on that. The way you would find it is, you can hit B to bring this up. Z, and it's right here. So let's turn off this. So we now have the Z model of brush. And notice, depending on what it's context sensitive, whatever you're pointing over, it's going to react on that. So let's say you're here. You're over a polygon. You hit space, hold it. And what we want to do is, in this case, you notice all the different functionalities you have. And it is also context sensitive. We can do inset. And we want now, you can do a single polygon. You can do a whole poly group. We're going to do all polygons. We're going to do it this way. If we want a pure lattice, we would say border only. If we want to do the Windows type thing, we're going to do center and border. So let me show you the border only. And let's see, inset. And notice we have inset. And now we can also go to here, QMesh. And let's do this a little on an angle so we can see it. We need to be over a poly. And it'll tell you, so we're over an edge. Here we go. And we now have our lattice. Now, let me go back. Again, you can also, let me just start over to show you the other way. New document, no. Let's just do a cube. And we got our cube 3D. And what? And do edit. So we have our cube. And we can change the sides count and the side z divide, etc. So, but for now, let me just show you for this case. Just going to leave it as it is. Okay, again, we have to make it a poly mesh. And now we're going to again hit space bar, hit inset, all polygons, but we're going to do center and border in this case. And in this case, we have this. Now notice the different colors means it's a different polygon. This did something weird on the bottom and top. Never noticed that before. Okay. So this is another poly group. And what we can do is here, we can do QMesh, polygroup all, so that means all the pink. And I don't know what, let's see what happens here. And we can pull this out. And you can see we have a little bit of geometry here. This is doing something weird up there, which I'm not sure about. But notice we have a little geometry here. And we may want it a little bit bigger. There we go. A little bit more inset. And what you may want to do to give yourself more versatility is do something like this. We got our cube. We're going to make it, let's say, we want 100. We're going to make this 100. Maybe even want it less. Maybe we want this 50. Let's say this is going to be one story. And what we're going to do in this case is, let's say we want one segment for Y, and we're going to have 4 here and 4 for Z. Okay. And we're going to do our, make it editable. And we're going to display, let's display our lines. So now you can see we have 4, but we want floors. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Faces, and we're going to, whoop, that's not what I wanted to do. We're going to select all these. We could do loop selection and select all these. So you're not selecting the top and the bottom. And let's go to W for inset. remember, preserve groups have to be off. MW. And now we're going to save these as a group. Store selection, and we'll call that Windows. And now we're going to bevel them in. We can do it that. It's another way of doing it. MT. And bevel them in. And now you have a floor. So what you can do here is do a cloner and stick the cube under that. And we're going to want to change our cloner. We're going to have 1x, let's say 5 y's, and 1 z. And we're going to bring the y distance down to 50, which is the size of each. And there you go. But the beauty of this is you can change this at any time. Let's say you want 10 floors. There you go, 10 floors. You can also make a separate item that you put in this building, which is your atrium, your first floor. You might also want to do something. Now, I don't know if this is how this is gonna work. I want to try it. Let's be a little daring here. I'm gonna turn. Let's say you want these to be apartments, and you want an edge cut here, or a loop cut, loop path cut, and you can do something like this, and you could go back and select nothing. Now select this. Let's go all the way around. Now, I don't know how well this is going to work, but I think we can do something. Since you're only working on one floor, of course, you only have 16 of these. And you can do an MT and extrude. This one came out a little funny. Let's go back and fix this. Shift. Let's try that again. MT. I don't know what's going wrong with that one. But now you have little balconies. And you can then turn around and go back here. And what? We want to... Sometimes it's easier to do it and just select these. And I don't know. Well, I'm going to unselect this one. Notice the normals are reversed, so something is not right there. But then you can hit back. I think backspace should do it. And notice you have balconies. And you may want to, because notice this will go straight in, but if you're doing it as a building, it may not be noticeable. What you may want to do in that case is, maybe do a duplicate or something, do something a little bit different than what I did. Maybe pull these edges down. But you can see now this could be an apartment building. And obviously, if it's one of a number of buildings and, your camera angle's right, it's not going to matter. So this is another thing you can do. Now, one thing I wanted to show you, I'm just going to close this because we don't need it. But the point of that whole thing is if you make it in floors, then you have control. You can also make floors slightly different and then mix them up. Yeah, this one has a camera and everything. This was just making the lattice a little as an object, and I have shadows, and that's something I did with it. Let me close this because, so now I want to close this and use the Redshift render view. And put a little sky, and notice I put some lights in there as well, so it looked like it's lit up, and this could be like an atrium with stores or what have you. And I gave it a little sky. So that's one way. And another one I did, now in this case I did use the floor technique. And what I ended up doing is I made a lobby and then I made the building. Now, so what this can be really useful for if you're doing a city scene of some sort, you can make your buildings very quickly. If you do the floors, you can make them different heights and so forth, and maybe even do some where you can set it up where you can be able to adjust the number of windows on the floor. You can make that a cloner of some sort, something like that. But let me just show you this one more thing. Open recent. Let's see, I think. Let's see what this is. Yeah, this is one. Oh, this is the same one. Let's close that. I want to show you something I did. Oh, no, it isn't the same one. I think that one was in... No. Okay. So we're back here, and I believe this one... Let me check the render settings. I think I did this in Octane. So let's render this out. Go to the Octane dialog. Show you what I got there. And again, I have a similar building done in Octane. So there's a lot you can do here, and this is a very handy technique. And notice it looks a little bit better when you do it in the floors because you have floors. Real building has floors. The one we did, this one here, well, this could be good for a background when you render it. I think I did this in Octane, so I think they should. So when you render this thing, you can see if you get a weird angle. Also, you don't have a roof. And of course, you can do a similar thing in ZBrush. You just select those polygons that you can do a temporary selection. Let's go back there, edit that, and so here what we would do is we're gonna go back to inset, and in this case, let's do a temporary selection, and I think it's Alt. We just want to select these. These are going to make a temporary so now we have, these are all pink. And now we're going to do, look, inset, and we're going to say polygroup all. And we're going to do center and border. And we're going to do something. And we're gonna, this we want a Q mesh. So we wanna, and we have a little bit of geometry here, but notice the top and the bottom are flat. We can make, there are ways of cloning things in ZBrush. Probably be, well, I'm more familiar with Cinema, so it'd be easy to bring it into Cinema, and or you can do what you like. But the point is, you can make a bunch of these. Let's see, subtool. So what can we do? We can duplicate it. And now we have two. And we can select this one. We select this. And I believe move. So we can, now we have two. And you can put these together as one thing, and there are ways you can weld things together, like what is it? I think merge visible, and now they are one thing. So this is easy to do, and you can get the same floor type effects and make as many, make one and then make several and make your building. But this is, to me, this is great, but the thing that would make it really easy is doing this in something like Houdini, which is something I'm going to explore. Because with Houdini, you can do this fully procedurally and make whatever kind of buildings you like. They also actually have something in there that is a tool in there that is specifically designed for making buildings. So hopefully you found this interesting, and I will speak to you next time. Take care.